Hello everyone! Today I am here to do a mashup review. If you guys don't know, I do a lot of these on my channel, up to like 2 or 3 times a month, so it's pretty regular. So if you've watched this intro 50,000 times before, I apologize. But my mashup reviews are where I take 3 books, usually within the same genre or similar genres, review them all for you in one video, and basically I just tell you what they are about, what I thought about them, and what I rated them, and they are all spoiler free. And as always, the timestamps will be down below in case you want to hear about one book in particular. Today's mashup review is actually 3 YA books. 2 are the same genre, 1 is kind of different, but they all fall under the YA umbrella. So the books I'll be talking about today are The Way You Make Me Feel by Maureen Gu, My Plain Jane by Cynthia Han, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows, and Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. One is YA Contemporary, and it is the oldest one of the bunch. It got released last year. The other 2 have been released this year, very, very recently. The Way You Make Me Feel is also a YA Contemporary, and My Plain Jane is a historical contemporary. Like, it reads very much like a contemporary, but it has a historical twist on it, so that's why I felt comfortable putting it in this mashup review. And this one just got released, and this one got released a few months ago. So without further ado, let's get into this mashup review. So the first book I want to talk about is The Way You Make Me Feel by Maureen Gu. Like I said, this is a YA contemporary novel, and it's all about 16-year-old Clara Shin, who has her summer mapped out. She's going to Tulum, Mexico with her mom, who is kind of like a media influencer and social influencer, and she's just really excited to do so. And then she gets in trouble in school, and she can't go to vacation with her mom in Mexico. She actually has to work on her dad's food truck called the Cobra. And not only that, but she has to work with her #1 hated enemy, Rose. And Clara is kind of a prankster. She doesn't take life too seriously. She kind of just floats through it, and she kind of does a lot of mischievous things. And basically this book is all about her summer working on her dad's food truck and working with her mortal enemy, Rose. And of course, they kind of grow a friendship, and it's about family and friendship. There's also a love interest as well. Basically, this is your quintessential summer book. I'd say if you haven't read this yet, please read it soon, because August is the last month of summer. It is so summery and adorable, and I loved the food truck aspect. I was really big into the Great American Food Truck Race on Food Network a while ago. I watched it on Netflix. It's not on there anymore, sadly, but I was really into it. Where I live, we don't have a ton of food trucks, so just the thought of food trucks enamors me a lot, and I loved, you know, learning about how her dad made his food truck, the Cobra. Basically, it's Korean food and Brazilian food put together equals Korean, Brazilian, Cobra. And basically learning about his roots of him coming to America with Clara's mom and them splitting up. And it's just a really adorable, cute read. So there's also a love interest here as well, and I did enjoy that, but I really enjoyed the food truck aspect and her and Clara and Rose developing a friendship. Because like I say in the beginning of the book, they like hated each other. They were mortal enemies, and then of course they work together and they realize that they're more similar than they think that they are, and they develop a really close friendship. And this book is all about that, and about Clara learning to take life a little bit more seriously, to start relying on people and people start relying on her. And overall, I really enjoyed it and would recommend it if you're a big summer contemporary fan. This is one that I think is just gonna make you smile, make you crave a lot of food, because food trucks galore. And like I said, it's just lovey-dovey, cute, and adorable. I gave it a 3.75 out of 5. I really liked it, and I'm glad I read it in summertime, because like I said, it is a summer read for sure. This book I want to talk about is My Plain Jane by Brody Ashton, Cynthia Han, and Jody Meadows. This is the second book in the My Lady Jane series, or just the Jane series, I don't know. And it's not necessarily that necessary that you read the first book, My Lady Jane, to read this one. It's kind of just, it's like a contemporary series where you don't really have to read the first book. You can if you want to, but it's not like required reading. I would recommend it because they're just so much fun. This is a historical novel about a retelling of Jane Eyre, and it's a very quirky and different retelling, because if you don't know, Jane Eyre is basically about Jane Eyre. She's an orphan, and she gets the job to be the governess, and she goes to work at Thornfield Hall, and Mr. Rochester's her boss, and he's kind of dark and broody and mysterious, and of course they fall in love. It's a classic tale we've all heard. This story is different in the fact that she gets the job at Thornfield Hall, and she starts to have really intense feelings for Mr. Rochester, but things are amiss at Thornfield Hall. Not only that, Jane can also see ghosts. This is a book that's all about ghosts, and certain people can see ghosts and things like that. We also have a society called the Society of Wayward Spirits, where it's all about relocating ghosts and helping ghosts move on to the afterlife. and they're trying to recruit Jane, and basically just know it's a Jane Eyre retelling, but like a paranormal aspect to it, and it's hilarious. These books are so funny, and I just really enjoy them. I listened to this one on audiobook. I did read the first one, My Lady Jane, physically, but if you can, I highly recommend the audiobooks because like I said, they're funny, and I just adore funny books on audio. It just really adds an extra element, and I really like this one. I was expecting to love it because I liked My Lady Jane so much, and if I could pick which one's my favorite, I don't know. Like, I love them for different things. My Lady Jane is just a funny telling about Jane the Queen, and she was like queen for like 3 days and then was off with her head. I loved this one because of the paranormal aspect, how ghosts were so relevant in this story and how there was like a big mystery, and it was just funny. These books is the authors will actually talk to you. They'll break like the wall, and they will say, dear reader, we know this isn't how proper attire should have been in the 18th century, but just bear with us because we weren't there. You know what I'm saying? They actually talk to you, the reader, and I found that so funny, so engaging. It was just, like I said, hilarious because they do that a lot. They'll, you know, they'll be like, let me catch you up on what's happening in this book right now, and they'll do a recap, and it's just hilarious. There's so many fun parts of this book. At one point they kind of reference without really referencing, because obviously it wasn't out yet, in the 18th century, is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I found that part so hilarious, but I just thought this was such a fun read. These books aren't gonna like make you think and make you really have intense feelings. These are books just to have a good old time. I say that every time when I talk about this series because I truly mean it. They're just gonna make you laugh, they're gonna make you smile, and this is probably perfect to read in the fall because of the ghosts, but I think it's perfect to read anytime. I really liked it. I was expecting to really like it. I think if you just want something funny, something historical, if you love Jane Eyre and you want to hear a really different twist on it, very different might I add because of the paranormal aspect, I would highly recommend this one. I love this series, and I hope the authors continue on with the series. I guess they're going to do like a Jane thing, so I don't know what they're going to do next, but I can't wait. I also should mention that one of the characters in this series is actually Charlotte Bronte, the author of Jane Eyre. So in this book, Jane and Charlotte are friends, and Charlotte is actually writing a novel because Charlotte Bronte, and she's writing the story about Jane Eyre, and I thought that was just so interesting. There were so many parts of this book that I just loved, and there were so many elements to it. So yeah, I'm gonna gush about it. I just really liked it. My only complaint was it did feel rather long. Listening to the audiobook around like the 80% mark, I was getting kind of a lull. I was like, I feel like this book should be wrapping up soon, but we have 20% to go. So that's my one complaint with it. I do feel like it was a little bit too lengthy. It's around 430 pages, but I feel like it could have been around 370 to maybe 400 pages, so not too lengthy, but it was a little bit lengthy. So overall, I gave this book like a 4.5, 4.75. I really enjoy it. Like I said, don't expect like a really grand, intense book out of this. Just expect a really light and funny and hilarious time. I really liked it. Highly recommend both of these books. The last book I want to talk about is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This is a YA contemporary novel all about our main character, Frances, and she is going into her, I think it's her senior year of school. Forgive me because this is in the UK, and the UK has schools very different from the US. So they will say like year 13 or year like something like that. Here it's like you're a senior and you're in 12th grade. So it's kind of different. So I think she was a senior in high school in this book. I'm not sure. But either way, she's very dedicated to school, and she really wants to get into Cambridge. So she works really hard and she studies a lot. The one thing that she does love, other than working hard, is this podcast called University. University is very similar to the podcast, if you've heard of it, called Welcome to Night Vale, which is a very popular one, which I haven't listened to, which I should probably remedy. But it's kind of around the same vein. University is a podcast all about our main character Radio, who is trying to just navigate like in the future in this really, he's at university and he's like everything's going amiss and things like that. And what happens in this book is that Frances is really obsessed with this podcast, and she does fan art and everything like that. And the creator of University reaches out to her and wants to collaborate with her on making art for University, and basically they meet up together, and she learns it's actually a friend that she has in real life, and they work together, and you learn more about the creator of University and how his life is not that great and things like that. It's kind of vague. I don't want to give too much away but basically just know it's about a girl that loves this podcast, and she starts working with the podcast creator, and they really form a close bond together. Overall, I did enjoy this one. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, and I'm surprised by that because everyone rates this book so high. I've seen a lot of people rate it 4 or 5 stars on Goodreads, and I do agree with those ratings a little bit, but I feel, again, like the last book I talked about, it was too lengthy in my opinion. This one especially, I felt like we kind of drug on a little bit. It's almost 500 pages, so I feel like it could have been easily 100 to maybe even 150 pages shorter. I don't know, but there were a lot of things I did enjoy about this book. I loved learning about Universe City and the podcast, and how the person that created it made it, and how they put a lot of work and time into it. I also loved our main character, Frances. Frances kind of doesn't know what she wants in life. She just knows that the one thing that she's good at is studying and working hard. So, you know, when she starts applying for colleges and things like that, she kind of feels lost. And then she meets a character named Alid, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, and they start forming a bond together, and you learn things about him, which I think you can put 2 and 2 together from that. And Alid, oh, I'm so sorry. He has a very rough family life. He deals a lot with depression, with kind of figuring out his sexuality. So this book has so many amazing things, and it has great diversity because Frances is a diverse character. It's also talks a lot about sexuality, with asexuality, with demisexuality, with homosexuality. It talks a lot about that and how somebody identifies or has a hard time identifying their sexual preferences. And it also talks a lot about depression and kind of home abuse and things like that. So it does deal with a lot of hard-hitting topics, but I think Alice Oseman handled it very, very well, and I felt like all of the characters went fluidly with like the hard topics, if that makes any sense. But overall, like I said, it was a little bit too lengthy, and at the end, I didn't love the ending. I felt like the ending was very open-ended, which usually I don't mind, but this one I kind of wanted a definitive close to it, if that makes any sense. Overall, I did enjoy this one. It's definitely like a quiet type of contemporary where it's all about these main characters who really discover who they are and what they want, with depression sometimes a lot with life. So overall, I would give this book like a 3.75, maybe close to 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I read it very quickly because I was very invested into this, so I would recommend it for sure. My just biggest complaint was a little bit lengthy, in my opinion, like a little bit too lengthy, but overall, like I said, definitely enjoyed it. So there you have it, my thoughts and opinions on these 3 books. I think for sure my favorite out of the bunch is My Plain Jane. I just really enjoyed it. And the other 2 I really enjoyed as well. I mean, they each, like I always say with every Mashup review, all these books, each one of these books could be great for you if you were looking for just that. Looking for a light, fluffy YA summer contemporary, this is a great book for that. If you're looking for a funny historical retelling of Jane Eyre with paranormal aspects, this is great. If you're looking for kind of a deeper, intense contemporary about podcasts and discovering who you are and what you want out of life, Radio Silence is great for that. So each of them, like I say, offer very, very different things, but are all great in their own ways. So if you've read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts and opinions. I would love to hear what you think and what you liked and things like that. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.